TV's biggest cash prize. It's the $64,000 question. And here's the master of the quiz, Bob Monkhouse.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And as always, 64,000 welcomes to you all on this, our second edition of the fourth series. Tonight we have four players ready to put their knowledge of their very special enthusiasms against our question setters. After three series that we've done, the range and extent of the people's knowledge never ceases to absolutely astonish me. I mean, coming up on this series, we've got experts who'll answer questions on subjects ranging from the Battle of Britain to Bob Dylan, from Sinatra to seaplanes. Somebody actually applied to answer questions on the comedy career of Nicholas Parsons. we could only think of two questions, and one of those was, what? One fella even chose the life of Bob Monkhouse. Yeah, he knew absolutely everything about me. It cost me a fortune to shut him up. One bloke wanted to answer questions on the 7 ages of man. I said, you mean Shakespeare? He said, no, no, no. The real 7 ages of man are like this. Your mother says no, and your teacher says no, and your girlfriend says no, and your wife says no, and your bank manager says no, and your doctor says no, and St. Peter says, oh, all right, come in. Thank you. As I say, we've got four fascinating subjects on tonight's show, and there they sit, the quivering quartet. No, they've summoned up their courage, and making his first appearance, 28-year-old photographer from Enderby, just outside Leicester. Returning, hoping to improve on the £1,600 he won last week, answering questions on British butterflies, is our finance director from Leyland, Peter North. Also returning, Suffolk-born garden centre manageress Angie Bishop, hoping to break through at 32, answering questions on the Carry On films, and, back for the big one, going for £6,400 on Greek mythology, our lab technician from Bridistow, Sheila Altree. Let's wish them all a lucky night. It's amazing how many things can trigger our players' fascination with their particular subject. A book, you know, a photograph, or a particular teacher may make a chance remark, and they pick up on, and that becomes their fascination for the rest of their lives. In the case of our first player, it was a film his father took him to see when he was a child. And he, well, just found himself totally absorbed by it. And it led to the interest that has brought him here tonight. Would you greet Mark Postlethwaite? Well, first of all, I've got to ask you what the film was.
The film was The Battle of Britain.
I remember the Battle of Britain. Oh, yes.
You don't look old enough.
Thank you very much, Mark. I don't think you're going to win. It took place over my head. I was evacuated down to Sussex, and of course it was happening all over the south coast. And I used to watch all that go. So that means that you're going to answer questions on?
The Battle of Britain.
The Battle of Britain itself. We'll start you off at £1, as usual. The quid is here, and it's yours, except I don't want to give it to you as soon as you've answered the first question, because it's only yours if you fall down on any of the questions between 1 and 64. As soon as you get to 64, the 64 is in the bank for you. Are you ready?
Fine. OK.
Good luck. For £1, the 15th of September has been designated Battle of Britain Day. Is that true or false?
That's true.
That is true, and you have £1. For £2, who was the German Air Minister and Commander-in-Chief of the Luftwaffe at the time of the Battle of Britain?
Hermann Goering.
Reich Marshal Hermann Wilhelm Goering is correct. For £4, on the 18th of June, 1940, a speech in the House of Commons exhorted people to behave in such a way that, quote, if the British Empire and its Commonwealth lasts for 1,000 years, men will still say this was their finest hour. Who said that?
Winston Churchill.
Yes. For £8, what was the German code name for the invasion of Britain, which the RAF prevented?
Operation Sea Lion.
Sea Lion, or Seelover. For £16, which important Kent aerodrome was badly damaged on the 30th and 31st of August, and then bombed 3 times the following day when there was a direct hit on the ops room?
That was Biggin Hill.
Biggin Hill is correct. For £16, £32 question. The Spitfire was armed with .303 Browning machine guns. How many guns did each Spitfire have?
8.
8, 4 in each wing. Right, the Mark III had a cannon as well, didn't it?
That's right.
And for £64, which is yours to keep if you make it, what was special about the method of opening the hood of the Hurricane?
Well, it slid back over the pilot's head.
That's good enough for 64 quid. It slid. Yes, it was a sliding. That's it. It was a sliding. That's all we were after. That wins you 64. That is yours to keep, of course. Now, you can walk out the door with 64, or you can play on for the ton. What's your decision?
I'll play on.
I'll now give you a breather until part 2, inviting you back for your £100 question then. Hopefully we'll double that and double it again. Till then, keep your head in the clouds. At some time or another in all our lives, I think we've become fascinated with butterflies. Only last week, I came home with a large cabbage white. The wife wasn't too pleased. She sent me out for a large white cabbage. Our next player's knowledge of butterflies is so comprehensive that he calls all the ones in his garden by their first names. Let's welcome back the finance director from Leyland, waiting in the wings. Wings? Wow, yes. Peter North. You told us last week, Peter, on the show that you and your wife, Sue,
Yes, that's right.
work for the National Health Service. Is that how you met?
Yes, Sue was a trainee and she had an attachment with the finance department, and that meant first day she was at work, it was in my office.
Then you formed an attachment of your own?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, she did too, yes. Last week you decided to go for the £1,600 question. As I told you then, a successful answer can give you the key through 32 to 64, but an unsuccessful answer, I'm afraid, will mean that you leave us with only the original £64. You understood that, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Right, somebody said, I hoped it was perfectly clear to you. So, Peter, here we go for the 1,600, which is yours, if you can win it, to keep. Fail, as I told you, back to 64. For £1,600, Peter North, I'm going to ask you a 4-part question about the early stages in the life of certain butterflies. I need 4 correct answers, Peter. Each correct answer will reveal a quarter of a picture on our video wall, and that picture will be related to a key question. More about that if and when we come to it. In the first part of 4, name one of the 2 British species of butterfly that drop their eggs from the air.
The marbled white is one of them.
Marble white is one of them. The other, the ringlet. In part 2 of 4, as soon as the caterpillar of the silver-washed fritillary hatches, it eats its eggshell. What does it do next?
It prepares for hibernation.
Crawls into a crevice in a tree trunk and prepares for hibernation is what I have. Part 3 of 4, the caterpillar of Hipparchia semele burrows ½ an inch into the soil and changes into a chrysalis underground. What is the everyday name of this butterfly?
The grayling.
The grayling is correct in the 3rd part. And in the 4th part of 4, for £1,600, Peter, the caterpillars of the large blue secrete a sweet substance which is popular with another kind of insect. For £1,600, name that other insect.
The insect is an ant.
An ant wins you £1,600. Oh, well, you've won £1,600, Peter. That money is yours to keep no matter what, but now you have a big decision to make. You can quit, you can take your winnings, or by answering your key question correctly related to that picture, you'll earn the right and obligation to play through £3,200 to the big 64. So, sir, with that in mind, what's it to be, double or quit?
I was a bit nervous through that, Bob, but I'll double. I'll have a go.
Answer this question correctly, and that earns you the right. It's the key to going on to 32. This beautiful butterfly you see on the screen here, it's thought to have arrived in timber ships from Scandinavia, and it takes its name from a part of London where it was first observed. In order to qualify, to continue in the game, you must tell me its name.
It's the Camberwell Beauty, Bob.
Yes, it is. That means next time we meet, you'll be trying to break through that 32 barrier. Our next player knows her subject so well that it earned her £1,600 last week, and her knowledge of the Carry On films, it's so comprehensive, she even knows about the one I was in, and I'd forgotten about that. As far as these films are concerned, she will absolutely quote you chapter and verse, star and director, knickers and bra. So please, carry on clapping for our 24-year-old garden centre manageress from Suffolk, Angie Bishop. Oh, welcome back. You realise with £1,600 you've made more than I was paid for making Carry On, Sergeant.
I can quite well believe that.
Yes, by quite a bit. You know about Peter Rogers. Always very tricky with the money. Is there anyone with you in the audience?
My mum's in the audience.
Your mum's there to give you moral support. In order that there will be no distractions and that the only thing you will hear are my questions, I must ask you, please, to take your place in the isolator. And good luck, Angie. Can you hear my voice with complete clarity?
I can.
Angie, I'll begin. For £3,200 total, I'll ask you a 5-part question. I'll need 5 correct answers to each part. Should you wish to pass on any part, Angie, you just tell me. We'll return to that part at the end. Each question concerns an actor or an actress who appeared in the Carry On films. In the first part of 5, who plays the seasick chef in Carry On Cruising?
Lance Percival.
Lance Percival is correct, playing Wilfred Haynes. In part 2 of 5, in Carry On Cleo, who plays Senna, the wife of Hengist Pod?
Sheila Hancock.
Sheila Hancock is correct in the second part, in the third part of 5. In one of the Carry On films, a bus conductor asked a couple travelling on his bus if they were going all the way. Name the actor who played the bus conductor.
Kenny Lynch.
Kenny Lynch is correct. In part 4 of 5, another cameo appearance in Carry On Cleo. Who plays the slave auctioneer Spensius, the brother of Marcus?
Warren Mitchell.
Warren Mitchell is correct. In the 5th part of 5, in Carry On Sergeant, who played the lovelorn Nora who worked in the NAFI?
Dora Bryan.
Dora Bryan has just taken you through the £3,200 balance. Oh, well done. Well done. Have a kiss back. Oh. Hold after all the time if you need a break. Here's one for you too. Thank you. At the end of tonight's show, Sheila Altree will hopefully be answering the big one, the $64,000 question. Now, some of you have been writing in saying it's not fair because the $64,000 question is, well, it's not just one question, but it's 6. Well, actually, it is one question with 6 parts. Because £6,400 is a lot of money, we feel that the question should be as clear and fair as possible, which is why we deliberately separate these 6 parts. Now, I could say, as an example, can you tell me the names of the actors in the Bond films and who played the parts of Dr. No, Odd Job, Scaramanga, Pussy Galore, Goldfinger, and the man in the phone booth? We think if we'd phrased it like that, it would be rather confusing and indigestible, and our contestants wouldn't be able to swallow it. So, by using it our way, we give the person in the isolator a better opportunity to absorb and honestly, clearly, hopefully answer the $64,000 question. So there. Answers those letters, I hope. And for those of you who wrote in asking who aren't watching, let's welcome back now the Enderby-based photographer whose knowledge of this country's finest hour, the Battle of Britain, has already won him £64. Let's encourage him to really take off now. Mark Postlethwaite. Oh, Mark, as a photographer, have you photographed for any famous clients?
The most famous one was Pirelli.
Pirelli? Ooh.
Yes.
What did you photograph for Pirelli?
Slippers.
They had the nudes, you know, the Pirelli calendars are famous for the nudes. My wife modelled for a Pirelli calendar. She was a spare tyre. Let us turn your £64 into 100 without delay. Are you all set?
I'm set.
Here we go. For £100, the name given by the Germans to their all-out attack on Britain planned for the 13th of August 1940 was Altertag. What does it mean?
Translate it means Eagle Day.
Eagle Day is correct for £100. Now for £200, Mark, I'm going to ask you a two-part question about a German plane. Look at the screens, please. In the first part of two, this dive bomber caused terror when its screaming sirens were heard. By what name is it usually known?
It's normally known as the Stuka.
Stuka. It has a different designation, I think.
The Junkers Ju-87.
Ju-87. Yeah. And in part two of two, the Stuka, or Ju-87B, the 87B, the subsequent Stuka, which was used in the Battle of Britain, was armed with two guns in the wings. What was the name of these guns?
Were they Rheinmetall?
Rheinmetall. They were Rheinmetall.
Rheinmetall. Do you want more?
Yes, please, Mark. Rheinmetall...
Borsig.
Rheinmetall Borsig is correct. You now have £200. For £400, Mark Postlethwaite, I'm going to ask you a two-part question about another German plane. Look at the screen again, please. In the first part of two, this plane had a 20mm MGFF cannon in each wing. What name was it usually given?
This is the Messerschmitt Bf-109E.
It is the Messerschmitt Bf-109E. I would have accepted the name Emil. That's correct in the first part of two. And in the second part of two, what engine was fitted to the Bf-109E?
That was the Daimler-Benz DB601.
Yes, that's wonderful. That's terrific. Wow. It's your cash now. I mean, that's a lot of money, £400. You know, you have every right to say, I'm not going to go any further in case I fail, and I would fall back to £64. So it's up to you. Do you want to pay out or play on?
I'll play on.
Play on, right. £800 then. Got a three-part question for you, Mark. This three-part question is about some British aircraft. Would you please look at the screen? In the first part of three, you can see the distinctive part of this plane, the four machine guns mounted in a power-operated turret. Which firm made this plane?
Bolton and Paul.
Bolton Paul, they were Defiance, is correct in that part. In the second part of three, 247 Squadron out of Roborough was made up of planes of this type. What engine were they powered by, Mark?
Was it the Mercury engine?
Mercury 8 is the answer I have. Bristol Mercury 8. Now look at the screen for the third part of three. We're playing for £800 with the answer to this one. This aircraft had a retractable dorsal turret. What kind of machine gun was in the turret?
It would be a Vickers gun.
A Vickers. Can you give me anything more?
Vickers K.
Vickers K is right. You've got £800. Gulp time, gulp time. Now, really, you must think seriously at this point, Mark, because £800 is serious money. I had to ask you a serious question. Are you going to take the £800 or come back and try for this? Remembering that if you fail the £1,600 question, you'll be flat on the floor with just 64. But if you succeed at 1,600, this lot will be yours to keep, and you'll win the right and the obligation to play on through 3,200 to 6,400. Would you like to give up at this point and take the money, or would you like to play on?
I'll play on. I'll play on.
You've got a lot of nerve. I love it. Good luck. Months ago, towards the end of our last series, a laboratory technician from Devon answered the first question on Greek mythology for that £1. And I thought then that she looked confident, and that confidence has been more than justified, because she returns tonight to knock on the door of the big 64. So let's have what we hope will be a winner's welcome for Sheila Altree. Have you still got moral support from your husband's mum?
Yes, indeed. She's in the audience.
She's in the audience willing you on. Good luck, Sheila. This is at the top of the money tree. You know the reason for what comes next. We don't want you to be distracted by any sights or sounds. We want you to concentrate only on the questions, which is why I must ask you once more, and for the last time, to take your place in the isolator. Good luck, Sheila. Sheila Altree, can you hear my voice with absolute clarity?
Yes, thank you.
Then here we go. For a total prize of £6,400, I'm going to ask you a six-part question which will require 6 correct answers. Your subject is Greek mythology. This question will cover the full range of that subject. If you answer one of the 6 parts incorrectly, Sheila, everything will depend upon a 7th and final part which I'm holding in reserve. Should you wish to pass on any part, simply say so, and we'll leave that part until you've answered all the others. First, I'm going to ask you to name the goddess of the rainbow. Second, I want to know the name of the blind seer who tells Oedipus that he himself has caused the pollution in Thebes. And third, you must tell me who owned the bed on which victims were fitted by being shortened or stretched. And next, I'll ask how much was charged by Charon to ferry the dead across the river Styx. Then, you must name the wife of Agamemnon who, when her husband and his captive Cassandra came back from the Trojan War, murdered them both. Sixth, and last, I hope, I'll need the name of the water sprite who was Poseidon's wife. Your 10 seconds thinking time start now. Sheila, in the first part of 6, tell me who was the goddess of the rainbow?
Iris.
Iris is correct in the first part. In the second part, name the blind seer who tells Oedipus that he himself is the cause of the pollution in Thebes.
Tiresias.
Tiresias is correct in the second part. In the third part of 6, who owned the bed into which the victims had to be fitted, either by being stretched or being shortened?
Procrustes.
Procrustes is correct. In the fourth part of 6, how much did Charon, the ferryman, charge to ferry the dead across the river Styx?
2 obols or pennies.
Did you say 2 obols?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Sheila, that answer is wrong. The answer is 1 obol. That brings into play the 7th and final part, of which you have no foreknowledge. We'll move on to part 5 of 6. Name the wife of Agamemnon, who murdered her husband and his Trojan captive Cassandra when they returned together from the Trojan War.
Clytemnestra.
Clytemnestra is correct. In the 6th part of 6, the wife of Poseidon was a Nereid, or water sprite. What was her name?
Amphitrite.
Amphitrite is correct in the 6th part. And now for the 7th and final part that I was holding in reserve. It is this question and answer that stand between you and £6,400. Who destroyed the Chimera with the aid of the magic winged horse called Pegasus?
Bellerophon.
Bellerophon has just won you £6,400.